Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each of the episodes against each other. Today's episode is Hercules' Legendary Journeys, Season 1, Episode 4, The Festival of Dionysus. Episode in a nutshell is just a brief reminder of what happens within this episode. The episode opens on Queen Camilla having a nightmare of her husband being killed by the virgins of the Festival of Dionysus. It is revealed that in the Festival of Dionysus, each year they basically break open the new wine, and when the moonlight touches the new wine, the virgins in the city drink the wine, and they either, based on Dionysus's will, party the night away, or they go and assassinate the current king and crown the new king because Dionysus feels the old king is past his time, and everybody in the city, even the king, is fully behind this tradition. We then greet Hercules yet again at the bar, and this time when he's at the bar, he takes part in a drinking competition with some twin fawns who are cheating by swapping out with each other, which he does actually figure out, and then by the time Prince Nestor, who is the younger son of the king, finds Hercules on his mother's orders, Hercules is dealing with a hell of a hangover. And he is basically convinced to come to the festival and prevent the king's death and interference by the older son, Pentheus, who is trying to take over the throne because he doesn't want to wait for his dad to actually pass on. He wants to stage a coup and take over. And then we have basically Hercules arriving, him meeting with the queen expressing her concerns. We find out that the older son is praying to Ares, not Dionysus, and it is Ares who is trying to interfere. We then get Hercules and Nestor getting trapped in a water dungeon where they fight a snake-like monster that, or it could be like an eel-type monster because it is in the water. Either way, it's a long tube with a lot of teeth at the front. Could be a lamprey base type thing too. Either way, it's a monster. And they luckily manage to defeat it. They manage to get out. And then they run to try to stop the virgins from drinking the wine. Unfortunately, they fail. They've already drank it. And so Hercules then runs through the castle. He gets delayed by the guards. He, of course, defeats the guards. He comes into the bedchambers of the king and queen, who are waiting to find out whether or not they're going to be killed or live to reign another year. And Hercules comes in, and at first the king is like, you may not agree with our traditions, but you've got to follow them. This is how we live. If it is my time, it is my time. And then if it's Dionysus's will, it's Dionysus's will. And then Hercules is, well, what if it isn't Dionysus's will, but it's Ares' will? And then the king kind of pauses. We then see, of course, all of the virgins come in. They circle a table, grab knives that have been laid out helpfully for them because that's part of the ceremony. And then they start stabbing the lumps under the sheets. And Pentheus, who is in the other room, basically sees some wine coming under the door, which he at first thinks is his parents' blood, and he starts to celebrate and put on the crown of the king. And this, of course, is when Hercules, his mom and dad open the doors and are like, "You kind of been caught red-handed." And he shows no remorse whatsoever. He runs out of the room. He drinks some of the Ares-infected wine, comes back in, says Ares is now in his veins, and, Hercules can't beat the god of war, and he's basically going to kill everybody himself. Him and Hercules fight. Hercules wins, and he eventually ends up in the water dungeon as well, which apparently is connected to a whole bunch of little hidey holes all over the castle. And then we get to the conclusion to the episode, which is where he is outside. The king, the queen, Nestor, and his girlfriend, who happened to be one of the virgins, all thank him for his efforts, help him out. We find out that Pentheus's punishment is to clean out the dungeons for potentially the rest of his life. And basically, all's well that ends well. As a side note to this as well, Tertius, who was this blind seer that we met in the last episode, also happened to be in the town because he likes the chaos and everything, and he was very upset to see Hercules there because he knew Hercules was going to stop the doom and gloom. And then once again, at the end of the episode, Tertius is thinking that he's going to follow Hercules on his journey, and there's a funny little back and forth between them as that episode ends. So now that we've rewatched the episode, we are now going to be ranking the episode. I rank on two lists, a mostly objective list and a personal opinion-based list. So as always, we start with our mostly objective rank values. So in this episode, we had started with our single episode supporting characters. Because there are so many, I counted all of the royal family as one. So the royal family is the king Iphicles, the queen Camilla, the older prince Pentheus, and then the younger prince Nestor. We then also have, counting as one, the twin fawns Clarin and Cletus, who, yes, are in the bar scenes, and they're worth 1 point. We are teased with Ares as a character, but as we know from Xena and the series in the future, Ares is an actual character. It is played by an actor. In this case, his name is mentioned. We don't see him, so I'm not counting it as the introduction, but I'm giving it an honorable mention that we have been teased with his existence. And then we have also on the positive at a +3 is a successful emotional impact. Now, was it good emotions that were impacted? No. No, it wasn't. I was very angry at this episode. I don't like suspense. It's not my personal preference. I really don't. And I also don't like when things drag on too much. But to be fair, anger is also an emotion, and it successfully brought up anger in me that it was taking so long and we were in so much suspense, and I was just like, can we just defeat this guy already? Like it's an emotional response that was successful. May not have been a positive emotion, doesn't matter, still counts. That was 5. And then +4 on top of that, bringing us to 9, is of course our world building, and this is where we find out that apparently Meliad is the only kingdom to have coffee, and they have recently been importing it from the east. Fun little world building fact. We also, of course, learn that there are mythological creatures, which we already knew about the Cyclops, but this episode introduced us to fawns, twin fawns, who are cheating at drinking games. And so that is 9, but there were a couple of negatives. Obviously, negative messaging or behavior. If you are trying to murder your parents, that's a very negative thing. If you are trying to steal your brother's girlfriend, very bad thing. If you are trying to even kill your little brother, a very bad thing. So these are very negative messages and behaviors, and therefore definitely worth -2 points. Which brings us to 7. And then we have the continuity error. And this is at the end of the last episode, we have Tertius, who is going off with the dog that used to be the human woman, and they were going to be traveling companions. Then we meet Tertius again in this episode. There's no dog. And while you could say if it was a dog, it ran off, but this dog used to be human, therefore human level intelligence. The dog in the previous episode did show intelligence, following them, revealing the goblet, and then joining Tertius, so I don't think it would have run off. And either it was at the end of its life and it died between this episode and the next one, or they forgot that they had given him a dog companion. Either way, it is an oversight that they made, and that, of course, then brings us a -4 because continuity errors tend to be of larger importance. This one wasn't the most important, but with the mostly objective rank values, it's a set value. Whether I feel a certain way about it or not, it still applies. So that brings this episode overall to a 3 out of 10. So as a reminder of our mostly objective ranking so far, in first place we have The Wrong Path, second The Road to Caledon. This episode falls into third with the Festival of Dionysus, and then The Eye of the Beholder in fourth place. All right, so on my personal ranking, I like in this episode they brought some of the fun back. In the last episode, I felt like it was pretty serious throughout the entire thing. This one, I felt finally brought back that fun that we were missing from the first two episodes. And this, of course, is the fact that Hercules is once again in a bar. And in this bar, he gets kind of suckered into a drinking competition against Clarin and Cletus, who are twin fawns who have been kind of scamming the bar goers by swapping out between drinks with each other so that they essentially are half as drunk as anybody else, and therefore they always win their drinking competitions. They challenge Hercules and, of course, do the swap outs, and then he drinks so well because he's a demigod that he basically, even though they're swapping out, almost outdrinks them. They're very drunk, and so one of them accidentally slips up and says, you're the strongest opponent we've ever faced. And he goes, we, and then he sees that there's both of them and he's like, so there's two of you. And then they try to cover for themselves and they're like, no, 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 you're just seeing double. And they like kind of do this woo motion, and he's like, oh, well, in that case then I'd better put you back together. And he just bangs their heads together, and that is where that fun little moment ends. That's when Nestor arrives, gives him some coffee for the hangover, takes him to Meliad, and then once they get to Meliad, while Hercules is being chased by the guards with Nestor, they come into a bar there, and lo and behold, Clarin and Cletus are running the same scam there as well. And so they then basically see him and they're like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And then he's like, you know what? I'll let you off this time, now that I know that you are twins, if you do me a favor. And then when the guards come into the bar, they basically fake a bar fight. The guards are distracted, and Hercules can sneak out the back. So, honorable mention. I think those twins were very fun characters, and that was a fun little saga in the like side saga, side quest that they went on. Obviously, as I mentioned, the main plot was very much a coup, a mystery. They're trying to like stop these plans that have been in place, and they keep missing and being one step behind. And oh my God, was I angry and pissed off about this because I do not like being in suspense. I like, fast. I don't like always missing. Like I'm not a struggle type of person. I like the overpowered characters that they just win, 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 win. I'm not really big on the losing before you win and make a comeback type plot lines. But boy, did it do a good job building the tension because I was tense the entire time I was watching it. Like, just hurry up and win already. I know you're going to. Let's get there, please. Stop being one step behind. Let's go. It was one of those episodes. You know the feeling. I'm sure you know the feeling. Some people like that feeling. I'm not as big on it, but it made for a very strong and compelling episode because it kept your attention because you were there kind of screaming at the screen like just go. So, all that being said, I really enjoyed the episode. It was a strong episode. There wasn't really much negative to say about it at all. And as a result of that, I decided to score it 7 out of 10, and that brings our personal ranking so far to in first place, Eye of the Beholder, second, The Festival of Dionysus, which is this episode, and then we have The Wrong Path, and in last place, The Road to Caledon. So now it's time to update our scores on the series ranking so far, and with the addition of 3 to the mostly objective ranking, we are now at 22 out of 130. And then with the addition of 7 on our personal ranking, we are up to 24 out of 130. And with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, Season 1, Episode 4, The Festival of Dionysus. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.